How's it going, everybody? Jeff Lerner here. So when it comes to your hard-earned cash, have you ever actually sat down and considered what to spend and what to not spend it on? Like asking questions like, if I buy this particular thing right now, how long will it last? Is it actually an investment that's going to generate some sort of return, or is it frivolous spending? Do I really need this thing? Is it going to put you in debt that maybe you don't need right now? The single biggest difference between financial success and financial failure is how well you manage your money. So it is time to become a good money manager. Before I get into this video, I will ask if you would subscribe to this channel if you feel you get value from this video. And go ahead and give me a like if so too. It really helps the channel out and allows me to bring you the best information on how to have a more awesome life. So without further ado, let's get into the video. Spending money is a daily requirement to meet our basic needs. However, so many people love spending money on things that they don't need. It can actually be healthy for your money mindset to get comfortable spending money, enjoying buying nice things, treating yourself, and even spending it on entertainment and recreation. But you have to be disciplined about it and learn to think, hey, if I spend $299 on some new shoes, am I going to get a good return on my investment? And am I going to get a good emotional return on that investment? How long am I going to wear the shoes for? How much joy will they bring me? What am I actually trying to accomplish for this? And I know that amount of money may seem like a lot for some and trivial for others, but the key is developing the discipline across all your investments, all your purchases. And the principle is the same whether you're talking about $1 or $5 million. So let's cover some of the basics of understanding your numbers and knowing how you should be thinking about your money. You know, we all have daily expenses, we all have things we want, but we also have to learn to have some spare money around, especially to account for emergencies or an economy that goes into a recession. A really good model I suggest is explained in a book called Secrets of the Millionaire Mind by T. Harv Eker, which, by the way, not just for this reason, is like one of my favorite books ever. But in this book, he suggests dividing your money up into 6 different accounts. And that may sound kind of extreme, but as somebody who's done this, I promise you this will change your life. The first account is daily expenses for things like rent and food. And I suggest putting around 55% of your income into that account. And, you know, asterisk, these numbers could all be different depending on your situation. But I think it's really important to set these 6 different buckets in your life and at least be filling them with something. Next is to put 5% for charitable donations. And then the next 4 are all 10% buckets. 10% for play, 10% for education, 10% for emergencies, and 10% for financial freedom. And we're going to talk a lot more about that last bucket, the financial freedom bucket. But you need to be highly diligent when you divide up your funds. And whatever rules you set, play by the rules. And then if you're going to change the rules, actually strategically change them. Don't just sort of whimsically be like, well, today I'm going to fudge a little. Like, play by the rules, and if the rules aren't working, adjust them, but just make sure that it's always intentional. And whatever goes into the account, don't dip into any of the accounts for any other reason. You might say, well, what if there's an emergency? That's why there's a bucket specifically for emergencies. The problem I've seen is that people get their numbers wrong, or they haven't accounted for the emergency and the savings, and they want to immediately start investing money when they haven't actually built up a cushion. They haven't created a backstop for their life. Or maybe you want to go on holiday and you're like, well, I got the money, I should go on holiday, but you're pulling it from what should be other buckets. Assuming that you are in a good place, you might want to pause the video and go set up those accounts. You might want to pause the video for 6 months and go set up those accounts and fill up those accounts. But assuming that you are in a good place and that you have that 10% set up for financial freedom, the rest of this video, I want to talk about what to do with that 10% to actually start in the long run creating a more awesome life, because that's ultimately what my channel is about. And getting an awesome life is all about ROI and generating wealth. ROI means return on investment. The first thing that we're going to talk about is investing in real estate. Well, most people, when they think about real estate investing, they think about like getting a house to rent out or maybe owning some office space. And although that is, like I say, the most common thing to think about, there are many other ways that you can invest in real estate. If you want to start off smaller, which most people do when they're just saving up a little bit of money at a time, you can invest in something called a real estate investment trust, or a REIT is kind of how they commonly say it. REITs are securities that trade on the stock exchange just like a stock. And these are basically trusts which allow you to own shares of a larger item. And so with these trusts, you can put your money into a single real estate investment that'll pay you good returns, and it's spread across one larger property or multiple larger properties. And there are dozens of ways you can get started with REITs, but the easiest one, the one that I recommend, and in fact the one that I do, is through a platform called Fundrise. You can use their starter portfolio, which basically puts your money into several different real estate investment trusts, gives you instant diversification, spreads you across a large number of great properties. And the second way to start putting your money to work right now is with a savings account. And yes, savings accounts are boring, but they're also safe. It's a great reserve place, a great place to put your emergency fund, because you can generate some interest, but they are by far the least risky way to invest your money, because in most cases, they're actually guaranteed by the government, depending on what country you're in. And this type of investing is low risk, and therefore it's also low reward, which means you're probably not going to make a substantial amount of money from it, but at least the money is working for you without even having to think about it, but you can still get access to the money. This is a great place for, kind of the basic place to start for at least getting some return on your money. And savings accounts, even for the wealthiest people, do play a role in investing, because again, it's a completely hands-off place to stockpile cash that you can always get back to. You can use it to purchase other investments, you can access it in emergencies, and at least generate some sort of a return. Now, the third way to spend your money is actually buying stocks. And this is probably the most common, and at least if you look over the last 100 years, it's arguably the most beneficial place for the average investor to put their money is into the stock market. When you buy a stock, you now own a tiny portion of whatever company you bought into. Just like with the REITs, you owned a tiny portion of a larger real estate project. So when you start out with stock investing, the key is to make sure you're investing in really, really reputable companies. And with stocks, you can invest in just one, you can invest in a pool, you can invest in a mutual fund, which is like its own pool, kind of like a REIT was a pool of real estate projects. You can buy index funds, exchange traded funds. Those are ways that you quickly access a large number of stock investments. For example, the S&P 500 has an exchange traded fund that allows you to basically own shares in the top 500 largest companies in the United States. And the number 4 way to invest your money is in bond funds. You don't hear people talk about this very much, but bonds actually are really cool. The nice thing about bonds is if you're investing, if you're willing to just settle for a small but predictable return, this is a very fail-safe way to do it, and it definitely pays better than savings accounts. For example, you can put your money in US Treasury bonds and be almost guaranteed to earn, at least 2 or 3% above what you're typically going to get from a savings account. But the problem, though, is that's still not enough for most people to reach, long-term your retirement goals. So I don't recommend this as your sole investment strategy, but it's still a great place to put, emergency funds or funds that you feel like you might need to access again pretty soon. And basically, to understand bonds are used by governments and companies. So, and by government, I mean literally, it could be, France, it could be Luxembourg. I mean, every country issues bonds for the most part. Sometimes it's state level bonds, city governments, there's municipal bonds, and also corporations issue bonds. Basically, anybody who wants to finance their projects and operations. And when you buy a bond, you basically become a creditor of whoever issued the bond. Essentially, you're letting them use your money in exchange for interest payments, which is exactly what banks do. And every bond, just like every loan with a bank, has its own terms that say, dictate things like when does the money have to be paid back, which is called the maturity, and the interest rate, essentially what you get paid for letting them use your money. And interest rates can be variable, or what they call adjustable. Interest rates can be fixed. Again, it's just like bank loans, only you get to play the bank. And you're loaning money to people that are, or to entities that are a safer bet than like loaning it to your buddy, because you're loaning it to countries or cities or large corporations. With bonds, there's what's called the principal value. That's basically the price that you can buy a bond for. And that's typically going to go down if interest rates go up, or to go down, or to go up when interest rates go down. And the reason it goes down if interest rates go up is because what that means, and think about it, it means that future bond issues are likely to pay higher rates because interest rates have gone up than the bonds that are currently in the market. So if you own a bond that's currently in the market and interest rates go up, it means future bonds are going to probably pay a higher rate, so the bond you own is going to go down in value. And if, flips the other way, if interest rates go down, bond values go up. And this has, for logical reasons, a greater effect on long-term bonds and a lesser effect on short-term bonds. And this is really important to know if you're planning to trade bonds, which, to be crystal clear, is not what I'm recommending in this video. If you're planning to just hold the bond for a while, which is what this video is suggesting, then those price fluctuations don't actually impact you that much. Generally, for people who want to own bonds for, kind of what I'm advocating, which is a combination of security and low risk, but generating a better return than a savings account, you're going to kind of want to look for bonds that have between a 1 and a 10-year maturity. Those are relatively price stable, but also pay pretty good returns. And number 5 on my list of ways to spend and invest your money is to actually create a passive income business. There's a million companies that you can invest in, but it can be kind of hard to know which ones are good options. If you go hire professional money managers, then you can end up paying a lot of fees. The best companies are ones that will continue to grow as the years go by, that will survive the challenges that the markets may throw at them, basically what we would consider a recession-proof company. The problem is, there's not that many of them out there, and it's really hard to know sometimes which ones they are. I mean, there's huge companies that have disappeared. Think about Eastman Kodak, right? Kodak, they used to sell, Polaroid cameras, well, I guess Polaroid sold Polaroid cameras, but Kodak sold all the rest of the cameras. And then what happened? The internet came along. We started taking pictures on our phones. Eastman Kodak, giant company, been around for 100 years. Bankrupt, right? It can be hard to pick great companies. So certainly you want to try to pick a recession-proof industry. You want to try to pick something that doesn't have a lot of expensive overhead and a lot of brick and mortar infrastructure. And what I love is try to pick companies where you can be a variable in the success. Because at the end of the day, you can rely on yourself. And that's why I love teaching about digital marketing businesses. The digital marketing space is rapidly growing. There are currently around 4 billion people online, but it's predicted in the next few years to go up to over 7 billion people. A lot of people may think that digital business or the internet is saturated. I promise you, it is not too late to set up a digital business. This is one of the reasons that I started my training company, Entre. And in Entre, we actually teach several different online business models, things like starting a digital agency, which is basically providing marketing services to businesses. Things like course creation, which is where you basically take something that you learn or even something you already know how to do and create training around it. We teach affiliate marketing, where you're basically leveraging already established business products and services and businesses that just want more business, and you go out and you get referrals and get paid for sending them referral business. Basically, that's what affiliate marketing is. These business models involve creating what we call digital real estate. And digital real estate is basically online assets that, just like physical real estate, can both increase in value over time and generate income. Honestly, this is what I do for a living, and it's the best. This is an extremely wise way to spend your money and your time, and these business models can all be started with very little investment. I actually have a free training video on the basics, which I'll put in the link in the description below. And then the number 6 way to properly spend or invest your money is a retirement fund. And investing in a 401k is a really smart way to invest in your future, especially if your employer is willing to match a portion of your contributions. Basically, that means free money that doubles your investment regardless of what the market does. And it's definitely something you should take advantage of if you have the opportunity. And another wise way is to use a retirement fund to save money, which you can leverage later into other big purchases such as real estate. So in other words, start with a retirement fund, and then once it gets big enough, convert it into other investments that may require more capital to get started with, like I said, like purchasing an investment property. Okay? So that covers 6 different things to consider doing with the money that you allocate toward financial freedom, which was one of those 6 buckets that we created initially at the start of the video. And whichever option you choose, I want to congratulate you on choosing the path towards financial freedom and better management of your finances. Honestly, if you do nothing else from this video, but set up those 6 bank accounts and actually use them, it will completely change your life. I promise, I'm speaking from experience. I've done it, and it's game changing to already know where the money's going before it comes in. Doing this now will set you up for the long-term game. And if you enjoyed this video, I'll invite you again to subscribe below, watch more of my videos about how to have an awesome life. And you might really like another video I put together called How to Start Investing in Real Estate. Also, I invite you to join me at my Facebook group called EntreNation. At EntreNation, we're a group of like-minded entrepreneurs, people that are trying to build awesome lives for ourselves, and we're ready to support anyone else that wants to learn more about passive income. Go ahead and leave me a comment below if you found anything helpful in this video or have any questions or feedback, maybe ideas, things you're doing to invest your money for the future. And again, I ask you to like the video if you got any value from it and subscribe to my channel. And I thank you so much for your time. I'll see you on the next one. Take care.